live chat that we're doing with the hard compound. Thank you very much for everyone for tuning in, as usual. Very much appreciated. We've got another current British Touring Car Championship driver. He'll be joining us very soon. Just making sure we're live on Instagram. We are live on Instagram. So as I said, this is the 5th interview that we've done with the hard compound. Fifth driver that we've got. Started with Rob and Bradley Gravitt, which was excellent. We've now had Ryan Falconbridge from the Mini Challenge. We've also had Alex Neville from the Mini Challenge, and of course Michael Crease joined us just before Donington. So it's great to have another interview lined up, and just going to make sure that he is joined on Instagram before we hit the button. So I can see we've got a few people joining us already. This is excellent. Very pleased to see people are joining us, and I'm just going to get Ollie live with us on Instagram. Waiting for him to press the button, and it looks like he has joined us on Instagram. And there we are.
Oh, hang on.
Just going to mute the laptop here so we don't get any nasty reverb while we're at it. There we go. And we're all set. Good evening, Ollie. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Have you managed to dry out from Alton Park?
Yeah, just about. Yeah. It's yeah, just about extract the motorhome as well from the car park. That was the most fun part of the weekend, actually.
Right. How long did that take?
About 2 hours.
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, thankfully we didn't get stuck, but everyone around us did. So I think Mr. Boardley's motorhome ended up getting pulled out with a telehandler, which then got stuck. So that was he's stuck anyway.
We'll have to try and get Carl on and see what he's got to say about it. But thank you very much for coming and having a chat. Very much appreciate it, especially as I know you're leaving for Knockhill tomorrow, isn't it? So
yeah. No, we're packing up early tomorrow morning and heading up. So we didn't. Some of the teams headed straight up, but we've had for Emma, my wife. She's too busy with work for us to head straight up, and yeah. So just Alton Park's not too far from us in Tamworth, so it's not too much of a trek to come back down first.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Because I know there's a few of the teams that are staying away for weeks, for a fortnight or so, aren't they? So yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much for coming along. Feeling confident for Knockhill?
Yeah, I mean, as confident as you ever feel going to Knockhill, frankly, because a bit of a lottery. But yeah, no, I think the car's obviously great. It's performing well. We've got the world's best track guide in the form of Rory as well. So it's shaping up to be have as much in our favour as is possible, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, no, excellent. No, good. Carry on some, carry on the form from Brands. That's the plan. Possibly not quite as hot though.
No. Yeah.
Never is north of the border, is it?
No. Although apparently it's going to be dry. So apparently it's been tipping down all this week. The team have been moaning about setting up the awning in the pouring rain, but it's actually looking like we might get a dry weekend, which is pretty rare for Scotland in general.
No, excellent. Yeah, fantastic. It'd be certainly a nice change from last weekend.
Indeed, yeah.
Oh, I've just seen a very interesting question pop up straight in. Alistair J. Mack, what do you use as hair gel?
Well, that would happen to be one of my best mates, actually, AJ.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll ignore him, shall we?
Okay, fine. He did actually call you something on the comments, so I'm not going to repeat it. So I did assume it.
He me a lot of things, to be fair.
No, fair enough. Yeah, we'll ignore him quietly. So
we talk about place
today. Cool. Okay. Right. Well. Yeah. Straight into it, I suppose. First question we always tend to ask. How did you get into cars in the first place? Cars, and then obviously the racing that followed.
Well, I've always been a petrol head, even as a kid, and as a tiny kid, I always had toy cars and things like that. But in terms of the racing, I actually started quite late. I started off at the Caterham Academy when I was in my early 20s, and leading up to that, I'd never actually driven a car on a track. I'd done a Palmer Sport day at Bedford, kind of, I think when I was 19 or 20. Did all right. But yeah, no, I didn't realise how much motorsport there was, frankly. Kind of, as a kid growing up, I watched F1, I watched BTCC, and you kind of, you don't realise the whole ecosystem that there is behind all of that. And in terms of club racing, and in terms of all the feeder series there are, and you just kind of, you assume, you go kart, and then you do some of the sport racing on touring car back, and then you go touring cars or or whatever. But I didn't really know all of that existed until I was a bit older. So, but yeah, no, I started out racing Caterhams. I my academy car, and raced that for a few years, and went there really.
Okay, no, that's it certainly sounds like a different way of starting. Obviously, we speak to a lot of people, and you see it. It's the old story. Everyone starts in karting, and then people are concerned about budgets and can you just turn up and race a kart, or can you have to buy your own and everything. But it just shows that you can get to wherever you want to be. You haven't got to go down the karting route age 5 or whatever it might be. Obviously, it might help, but
no. I mean, when I started with the Caterham Academy, it was a whole range of ages of people. I mean, I was racing against people that were in their 60s and 70s to start off with. People that had never raced before. That quite a few of them had done track days. Some of them had done karting as well, actually, but maybe hadn't pursued it as a longer career, if you see what I mean. Actually, got a day job instead, if you see what I mean, as they grow up. But the car, I towed into the track on the back of my Land Rover, and I used to camp sometimes, stay in some pretty dodgy B&Bs in various places around the country, and you can do it on a budget. It's anyone can go and get their Go Racing pack and do their R's license. It's easier than getting a driving license, frankly, for the road. Okay. There's motorsport for every budget, really.
Yeah, no, excellent. No, it's sort of good to know. I mean, because again, it's pretty well known that motorsport's never going to be sort of dirt cheap, is it? But if you can do it on a budget or a relative budget, then all the better. Just a quick one. I've just seen a question pop up. Paul Ablett from Quick Fit. Paul Ablett, he says, "How does the new Focus feel compared to the old?" We were going to get onto that one later on, but we can. Yeah, we'll do that one.
Yeah, no, it feels mega. It's a proper racing car. I mean, ever since the NGTCs came out, they've always been a little bit compromised. They've always been a little bit flexible, and they have a tendency to bounce. They have a tendency to be a little bit awkward on a limit, whereas the old S2000 cars tended to be quite refined. And actually, the Focus feels more like an S2000 car, a much grippier, faster one, but it's got that same level of finesse where the setup changes do what you'd expect, and it's just a really, really nice platform.
Oh, nice one, excellent. It certainly does look pretty mega. I think as we said when we spoke recently, we sort of coming down Paddock Hill Bend, and it just looked absolutely glued, which was pretty cool to see. Another quick question we've just seen on the Facebook side of things. Are you worried about track limits this weekend?
I should have been more worried about it at Holden, frankly. Well, considering I don't think Rory's sister and brother-in-law have forked out for the Jonathan Palmer sensors yet, so I don't need to be as worried. But but they usually have a few judges of fact knocking around, so we don't take the mickey too much.
Yeah. It's the right hander on the chicane, isn't it? That sort of the 2-wheel one. That's the one where But it's great. Everyone loves to see that. You don't pull people up on that.
Yeah. I know, it's funny. I can remember even the Porsches, when I used to race Porsches, I can remember doing a free practice session, and they red flagged it about 10 minutes in, and they actually put a marker bollard right on the apex. They kept getting taken out, and they red flagged the session, and they put over the tannoy. We're replacing the bollard. We expected to remain there for the rest of the session. I'll tell you what, I was about the fourth car out, and it had already gone by the time I got to it.
Yeah,
I think they've accepted it now.
Yeah. It'll be gone by the third car round in FP1. It'll be gone if it's there. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Just quick, you obviously mentioned about the day job. I think there's a few people still think that all touring cars are full-time racing drivers. That's what they do, and it's very often not the case. I mean, obviously there's exceptions. But obviously you've got your own job involved with cars, obviously.
Yeah, I mean I'm an engineer basically, but I've got I started off as a computer scientist programmer to start off with. I've got then I went and did a master's in automotive engineering, I used to work at Lotus as a vehicle dynamics engineer, which is like a setup chassis specialist and a test driver. So I did that for about 5 or 6 years at Lotus, but since then I moved across to Alcon specialist brakes and clutches. Started off as development engineer there as well, but these days actually I head up the chief engineer for brake-by-wire technology and control braking systems. So it kind of blends my IT background with my dynamics and my engineering experience. Sorry, dog noisy. So we do. We're kind of launching into brake-by-wire technology and advanced braking technology now. We've been involved as a business in quite a lot of the top EV series and vehicles. I mean, we used to be the title supplier for Formula E for the first 4 seasons. We were on the Volkswagen IDR, the Pikes Peak record car that's got numerous records. The Neo EP9 that was the Nürburgring lap record car, all sorts of stuff like that, and it was kind of a natural progression for us to start moving into the actuation side of things, and the brake-by-wire technology. Basically, all it does, it means that you can blend the friction brakes with regen, and it's so you can apply as much brakes as you want and allow the regen to recharge the battery when you're slowing down.
Okay. Right.
So there's a lot of technology in it, but
interesting stuff.
Early days. But we had a system on one of the Formula E cars in season 5, which did quite well. We had a couple of pole positions, wins, fastest lap stuff like that on our first go. And although it was a bit of a learning curve in some aspects, it was really good.
Oh, excellent. No, certainly got some good credentials in there with the Nürburgring and all the other bits and pieces, and not bad. Just tying into obviously your engineering background, I saw something come up on Instagram. Tall Paul Turner. Do the guys on the spanners appreciate your input as a fellow engineer more or less than they do perhaps from the other drivers? I think that's saying, are you a help or a hindrance? That's a polite way of saying it.
The guys on the spanners, they tend to not mind either way. I think maybe they might appreciate the fact that sometimes I might be a bit more sympathetic to the machinery. But it's the engineers that can sometimes struggle with me a bit, because I'm a dynamics engineer. I kind of, I can sometimes get a bit too involved in the setup of the car.
Sure.
And sometimes it's a good thing. When you're developing a car, it's a good thing. But when you've already got a car that works, and I want to re-engineer it, then that's when I tend to fall out with people. Or sometimes when it doesn't work as well, frankly. But
couldn't possibly say.
Usually, to be honest, once an engineer gets used to me, then I think they appreciate my feedback rather than. I think I've only properly fallen out with one engineer in the whole time I've been in touring cars, so I've not done too badly.
That's a decent enough record, isn't it? That's not too bad.
Yeah, indeed,
We've got a load of questions flying in here, which is very good. We've got some that we were going to ask anyway. We'll try and catch up with those soon. On Instagram, Ross Restel, I hope I pronounced that right, Ross. How do you deal with cold?
My mate.
Yeah, Ross Restel. How do you deal with cold rear tyres on the first lap? Does he know something we don't? Does he?
Yeah, well, better than he does actually, because Ross was actually one of my colleagues at Lotus. We started as dynamics engineers together, and Ross is now actually one of the lead attributes guys in JLR SBO. Unfortunately, it didn't stop him from binning off his racing Puma track car with cold rear tyres the first time he took it out. So yeah, that's what he's having a laugh about.
He's
obviously, but actually, he's got a good point. I mean, you see it if anyone wonders what's going on when you see all the front-wheel drive cars in qualifying. They come out, we do a lap or two warming the tyres, and then come back in and all the tyres get swapped over. It's basically because on a front-wheel drive car, the rear tyres are basically just there to hold the back of the car up. Right. So they don't actually do much work. So you actually warm them up on the front of the car and then swap them over. But obviously when you're on a it's not really...
No, interesting. No, I hadn't actually spotted that. I'll keep an eye out for that one. Official BTCC chat. Kevin Whitewood. Very good group. If you don't follow it already, everyone who's watching, BTCC chat on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Good friends over there. Simple question. Are you looking forward to the hybrid? Because it does look good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm interested in the technology anyway. I mean, frankly, I'm a bit of a Luddite when it comes to the sort of cars I enjoy. So despite the fact that I work in EV tech, I like big, noisy, engines with flames kicking out of them, but it is the future, and I think we actually, with one of the companies that's involved in the project, we actually do quite a bit of work with on the brake bar ride tech, and it's the implementation of it's definitely interesting. I'd be interested to see how it works, and it looks like a good piece of technology, but it's certainly unique the way it's being applied. So yeah, looking forward to it. It'd be cool.
Yeah, and it's the future. I think it has to be, doesn't it? I mean, the way the world is at the moment and the way it's going, the hybrid thing, obviously it's already in place, but it needs to be the future as well. So if it can get into the touring cars and still sound good, which I think is the concern for most fans,
it's not going to sound any different. Yeah, it'll sound exactly the same. The difference is just every now and again you'll see a car having a bit of a burst of speed.
Yeah, which is going to make it even more lively, isn't it? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
even better. Another question come in. We're actually going to answer this one later on. AD King, we've got your question, so we're going to ask that one later. Don't worry, it's nothing nasty. So that's all good. Oh, my keyboard just popped up. There we go. So yeah, that's all good. But yeah, we're just going to have if it's all right, to have a quick run through what you've been doing. Your racing history. Just a quick sort of blur. I mean, you mentioned. I did see a question pop up on the Facebook side. Chris Cuthbert, his son Ty, did an excellent live thing on BTCC chat last night, live Q&A, and he's one of our back drivers. He's actually. I think he joined a bit late. He's asked where you started your motorsport journey, and obviously we've covered that you started on the Caterham side, and obviously gone through a bit of success, winning classes and going up and progressing through, and then obviously going into the Carrera Cup with Motorbase. How did that come about?
I started off the academy, and then the natural route back then, there's two ways you can go with the Caterham. You can either stick with the Caterham Manufacturer Championships, or you can go and join a club. And a lot of my friends who actually are still good mates that I met through the academy, they all went to the Caterham Graduates Club, and I raced in that for a couple of years using the same car, just slightly upgraded. Did quite well in that. Decided to take the step up, go back to the Caterham Championships, because the next level of car wasn't available to graduates at the time. So I went up to the Superlights. One of my first weekend out in that, which was great, and I think I finished second or third in the championship. Something like that, which was not bad, because there were a couple of Formula 4 guys that had come back down as well, and it was quite competitive back then. And the Carrera Cup thing, it was a bit of a funny story. I was racing at Donington, and an old family friend, Andy Britnell, who used to race Carrera Cup, was there with some of the Porsche Cars GB guys racing something else. and they were watching one of my races. I got punted off in the first race. I started from the back in the second race, and it was wet, and I started off last, which was about 26th, 27th, whatever it was, with the grid that time. And by the end of the first lap, I was sixth, and by the end of the second lap, I was second. And
wow.
They basically said, well, we need to give this guy a go in a Carrera Cup car. So I really considered going and doing national level racing. And yeah, it was. They gave me a guest drive at the end of the 2008 season. And I did all right. I stood on the podium in the Pro-Am 2 Championship. I'd never driven anything other than the Caterham before, really. I'd never driven anything big or powerful or anything with slicks. And they literally stuck me in it on the weekend, and I did all right. So,
wow.
So we kind of made the decision that was where I wanted to go. We'd known David through Andy Britnell at Motorbase for a long time, and just socially. In fact, the first time I ever went to a touring car meeting was watching Andy and his brother Gary, along with Michael Caine, racing for David in TVR Tuscans back in 2000.
Okay.
When the Super was still at the end, and it was the night race in Silverstone. I remember it vividly. And and it was that was the first time I went to a meeting. So we've known David and the guys at Motorbase for a very, very long time. And so it was the natural thing for me to go and drive and go for the Pro-Am 1 class at the time. And did well in my first year. I think I was third in class overall at the end of the year, and I think I beat Tony Gillam, which didn't seem too bad. I can't remember. He might have been it was Glenn Geddy won the class the first year I was in it with another chap, Robert Lawson, second, and so I did Tony in the first season, and then in the second season, I won the class, and which was great. I had 11 out of the 20 races I won the class, which was great. I don't think anyone's matched it yet. Actually, I think I scored in the points for every single race out of those 2 seasons I did. So I think 40 point scoring finishes from 40 starts. So it was a nice career. My first race back in a Lotus got paid to that when it broke down, but never mind. but yeah, that was the Carrera Cup, really. Yeah.
Well, so you have to keep an eye on, was it Harry King at the moment? He's doing well in the Carrera Cup, but have to make sure he doesn't. Have to make sure he has a spin.
The other one to have a look at is young Scott McKenna as well. I think he's walked straight in from a Jet to GT5. Yeah, it's a big step up, and he's been quick right off the bat.
He has looked very good.
Yeah, I've been quite impressed with how he's doing. I mean, I know his parents from the Ice Driver things. They're a nice family, and he's been pretty impressed as well. I think he'll be one to watch going forwards.
No, smashing. I've just got a question. Have a quick read. We've got a question about sponsorship. We are going to cover that. That's all grand. You mentioned about the Lotus. That was 2011, was it not? You also went on to was it the GT? The GT and the GT4 with Lotus. Obviously, you worked for Lotus in the past. Was that like a little linky there?
Yeah. So I was working there at the time, and the opportunity came up, and so it was I went for that. We had a team of 2 cars. To be honest, it wasn't the best season. The car was brand new at the time. It was a bit underdeveloped. So we were struggling. We were hoping to walk into the GT4 class and be class the field straight away, but it didn't really work out like that. But it was a really good year productively. I had quite a few good races in European GT4 as well. Racing against some top drivers like Cor Reuser and Stefano D'Asta and people like that. And with some I met some really good people as well. Alistair McKinnon, AJ, who's commenting and taking the mickey out of me and the comments. We've met him as well. He's a great friend, and he's also one of the investors in Alcon as well. So that's a relationship that we've got directly from the racing. And so it was all in all, it was a really good year. Although in terms of racing, it was a bit rubbish. But that's kind of that's how my racing works. So that's how we take the benefit out of it, even through the years that aren't as successful.
Yeah, sure. I mean, not sure if we're going to dwell on it or we're going to go into this too much. We had a quick chat before, and you mentioned about some fun and games at Assen that you had over in the Netherlands. Obviously, we had a chat about it before, but we can snip it short if you like. But it's just a good. It was just a good story you had there from Assen out in the Netherlands.
Without going into too much detail, it was I'd never seen the track before. And there was some good drivers in the field, and I went straight out in qualifying, having not had very much sleep, and it was amazingly we decided. I mean, it was Gary Arles who was the team manager, who's quite a well-known old Le Mans racer, and we sat in the truck before the start of the day and said, right, we're going to go for a banker lap, see where we end up. If the banker lap's decent, if we're kind of top 8, top 7, something like that, we'll go for a real fire at the end. So I stuck the banker in. Amazingly, I was P5 on my banker lap, even though I'd only done about 5 laps of the track.
Wow!
And in front of Corroiser as well as his local track, in the same car.
Nicely done.
And so that somehow happened, and then so I went for the flyer at the end, last lap before the checkered flag, and I was about half a second up going into the last chicane, and I hit the curbs of the chicane and the suspension collapsed, and I did the last 300 yards with the front corner on the floor, and it was still the same as my fastest time. Ooh, so I would have stuck it on pole if the suspension hadn't broken. But it was, I got punted off on the first corner, unfortunately, so it was all for now anyway. But like I say, it was a great weekend with AJ, and made a lifelong friend out of it as well. And it's a good story to tell. So all's well that ends well.
Yeah, absolutely, brilliant, love it. Just a quick one on that. So you whilst in the GT, you got the class win at Spa. And now, every driver that we've spoken to on the interview, they said that that's a track that they'd love to drive. So nice to have gone there and got a class win.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. I mean, I've raced. I've been lucky enough to stand on the podium a few times at Spa. I raced quite a few times there in Caterhams as well. And I think I got my first win there in a Caterham. But to go there in a proper car and to race against some top, well-renowned drivers and still win the class. And I think we actually won we had a combined European GT4 class as well, so it was a really strong field and a lot of cars. So to win that and that was partnered up with Phil Glue, and that was a really, really great weekend. The best weekend in that car actually in terms of results, certainly.
Excellent. Yeah, not a bad place to do it at all.
No, fantastic. I mean, it's my favourite. Well, it's an amazing trip.
If I was ever let near a proper racing car, that's the one I'd like to be on. But I don't think anyone's that daft to let me do it.
I don't know. I went. The last time I was there was actually in October, November, when it was in a Citroen C1, which unfortunately wasn't the most successful of weekends, but it was still fun. And frankly, judging by some of the people who are out there, they'll trust anyone with a race car.
Oh, good. Excellent. There's hope. Okay, nice. I mean, obviously, we've got a lot of people who are watching, obviously, fans of the BTCC. So that's where you're probably best known from. You went into the BTCC, was it at the end of 2011 with Triple Eight Racing? And then kind of went from there. Can we bring it up from there up to today? Quickly.
Yeah, so we did the year in the Lotus. Like I said, it wasn't a particularly great year in terms of the racing, and I kind of decided that I wanted to be back on the Toka package, and my dream was always to race in a touring car. So I had a go in Rob Austin's Audi, and had quite a good test in that. But it couldn't quite strike up a deal at the time, which was a shame because it was a good car and I like Rob. But the opportunity was to drive the other Vectra when James Nash, I think it was at the time, I think he won the Independence Trophy. I did the last 2 rounds of that season for my first taster. Right. And I had a test at Brands to have a go. It was the first time I'd sat in a front wheel drive car, and I was bloody awful. to start off with. It was like learning to drive. Like I'd never sat in a racing car before. The thing was just so alien. It just felt all over the place. Yeah, to me, it was used to nice kind of straight GT cars with nice precise steering and all of the drive coming from the back. And to have something that was yanking itself around in the straights and felt like the back end was on casters. It was pretty odd at the time, but you learn to embrace it and enjoy it for what it is.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and it went okay. I mean, I nearly finished in the top 10 in my first weekend, I think. Which I was Silverstone. I think might have been the last round, but I think I finished P11. And frankly, considering how not good I was at it, I think it wasn't bad going. Although it wasn't anywhere near as competitive back then as it is now. So but no, I enjoyed it, and it went okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think starting with an 11th place finish in an alien car and a new series, it's not to be sniffed at, is it? No, very good.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah, it was right. Yeah, then the opportunity with Sean came up in the golf, and that was it was a good deal, and it was a good starting point. I mean, AMD was pretty young as a touring car team at the time, and it was. Sean gave me the chance in the car, and we went from there really.
Yeah, smashing. Yeah, was it 3 top 10s that year as well? I think I've got a note here which is obviously good for a first full season. Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it was the car was like I said, the team was pretty young. We were kind of steep into the learning curve back then with it. The car as well was maybe a bit underdeveloped by anyone's standards. And so it was a lot of learning, and but got some good results out of it. I mean, like I said, it wasn't as competitive back then as it is now, but it was to have a couple of top 10s in it was I think was quite a good achievement in that car. And so it was a reasonable first year, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I remember it very well. Yeah, it was a very good year. Just stepping sideways, I've just seen a question coming up. This is a good one. No one's actually asked the touring car driver on here before. How are you as a passenger? Or does it depend who's driving?
It depends on who's driving. To be honest, I've got a lot better over the years. I'm not as edgy as I used to be. I'd never get in the passenger seat of a racing car with anybody, though. I don't trust anyone in a racing car. But so anyone that I've done a few passenger laps with giving people passenger laps in my car, and I think anyone that gets in a car with a racing driver, particularly a touring car driver, frankly, have got a screw loose. But no, on the road, if I trust somebody, then I'm all right. But I've been known to be a bit of an edgy passenger.
Right, fair enough. Jumping back to the touring cars side. Obviously, there's a year at Speedworks. There was a year at Welch before going back to before going into the Ginettas. How did that sort of come about? Obviously the move between teams and then the jump to Ginettas and then obviously back in with Motorbase with AMD in 16, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Speedworks was a bit of a last minute job, to be honest. I mean, we got to the end of the year with the Golf, and the NGTC was coming in a bit stronger, and they were looking a lot more competitive towards the end of the year. I set my sights on getting into one. There weren't that many opportunities back then. So I kind of thought I'd missed the boat, and actually one of the 2 Toyotas at Speedworks became available quite late. Literally, it was a real last minute. I mean, we met Christian Dick from Speedworks at the A14 M1 interchange service station, and that had a coffee 3 days before media day.
Wow!
So so we got and I hadn't even sat in the car before. I hadn't even been to the team, so it was that kind of last minute deal. And partnered up with Dave Newsham. Had a bit of a, to be honest, it was a bit of an underperforming year. The car was quite heavy. I'm a big bloke, and to be honest, I was quite fat back then as well. I was really fat. But I'm fat enough now. But But back then I really was a proper porker, and I was running around with the car about 45 kilos overweight. So I was never really going to get anywhere with it. So which was a real way back on it. But no, I mean it was still a fun year. I mean, Christian and Amy Speedworks, they're good friends, and we got on really well, and had a good race at Dubai with them as well. And Tony Hughes' Ginetta at the end of the season, which was great. So it was. We still had fun, but not my most successful year. But absolutely roaringly successful compared to my year in the Proton. Probably the less said about better, other than to say, it was, we were sold the dream with the engine and the car. I think the car underneath it was not a bad chassis, but the engine was just a complete dog, and the prep. Say the least at times, but I won't dig the knife in too much for that, because it's a fairly traumatic year of memories.
Right, we'll chuck that one over the shoulder, and we'll
yeah, as I've done. But yeah, so after that, I'd fallen out of love with racing at that point, and after a year of tugging around at the back with a usually sick car, and so Ginettas looked like a good series to be in at the time. I mean, we supply the brakes for Ginetta as well, so all supercut cars run Alcon. So it was a natural thing. I wanted to be back on the Toker package again, and back in sprint racing. So yeah, did a year in the Ginettas.
Yeah.
Again, probably could have done with a diet before the year. Again, I was running around probably 40 kilos over and wondering why I was struggling to get on the podium. Which was a shame, because actually I got quite close to the pace once I got my head around the car. I was not far off the pace. So if I'd actually had a car that had been thin enough that the car was on the weight limit, I might have actually done a bit better. But there you go. That's the lesson that I've carried forward for the last few years of racing since then. So yeah.
Sure. Fair enough. No, there's different kinds of ballast.
Indeed, yeah, different kind of success ballast, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I mean, to be honest, it's like I say, I've got a day job, I work, and I don't always have the time to be as fully committed to my fitness as I should be.
No, sure.
And I work harder at getting it in these days, just because it's actually it's an insult to the team if I'm too heavy. And
sure.
It's and yeah, I think being in a better car, the better cars tend to be a bit lighter, so it's maybe even not as important as it used to be. But actually, just as a matter of respect for the team and to look proper as a racing driver, and also it does, it's not good for your mindset as well when you turn up and you're unfit and you're overweight. Even if I am strong enough to drive a car, even when it's hot out, but yeah, so I try and keep at least more in shape than I was back then, and try and keep my weight down as much as possible.
No, smashing. Yeah, good. I've seen a question pop up. This is a little bit, I'm not sure if I'm going to ask it. No, I am. Scott Davey, this is a bit funny. Is Jake Hill really that small, or are you tall next to him?
No, he is pretty small. I am that tall, and he is pretty small, to be fair, yeah.
I've actually, I mean, I'm 6'1", and I've met Jake, and he's not really short, is he? He's just normal kind of, yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of the touring car drivers that are quite tall, so I suppose it distorts it, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah.
He's probably one of the shorter guys on the grid, isn't he?
Yeah.
But
I think to say he's short is very unfair.
Yeah, well, what's particularly unfair is he weighs about 30, 40 kilos less than me, even when I'm trying. So that's 30, 40 kilos that the team can put where they want in the car.
Maybe that's a key for young drivers. Don't grow too much.
I tell you what, in all seriousness, you do get all of the poor kids praying that they don't grow too tall, because it is a handicap. I mean, you've only got to look at how even in Formula E and things like that now, they actually run ballasted seats so that the smaller drivers don't have an advantage over the racing snakes. Sorry, the tall guys. But
sure.
I mean, there's all sorts of balancing that goes on with that. Yeah, even to the point of central gravity.
Yes, of course, yeah, sure. Just keep an eye on the time because we only have an hour on Instagram, so we've got 20 minutes. That's absolutely fine. That's all good. What have we got here? Let's have a look. Okay, we'll go back to Chris Cuthbert. That's Ty Cuthbert's dad. We do a bit of backing stuff for Ty. Top, really top young man. Very, very good. Going places fast. He's asked, what advice from your experience would you give a grassroots racer wanting to progress into the BTCC?
Spend your money on track time and tuition rather than the car, because it's being a better driver will carry you all the way through, but having a better car might only carry you in that championship. So it's actually definitely, for me, relating into catering racing, me being a bigger guy, I think was naturally a bit of a handicap. And quite a few of the guys that used to be my main contenders back then tried to make the step up to national level racing and didn't do as well as me. And some of that, I think, is just the fact that I stepped up into a bigger car and it almost absorbed the weight better. Right. And actually, I was having to try harder to do what I was doing in the lighter, smaller car. So, and I think that carries across to, if you've got the best car in the field, you're gonna look awesome at the bottom level, but actually you want to look awesome when you're getting into the good car. So save your money. Make sure you're getting a good car when you're visible. But for the early days, make sure that you're investing in yourself rather than the car. Obviously, don't run a badly prepped or unsafe car, but you're much better off to get the practice in and to improve yourself rather than making sure you've got the best engine or the best damper build or whatever.
No, excellent. No, that's really good. And I guess obviously, when you become that better driver, even if you are in a bit of a dog of a car and you can get more out of it, then that's how you get into the better cars and that you can make that progression just on the ability. So that certainly makes sense. Yeah, bro. Just a couple of questions popped in. Who we got here? Anthony Otley on Facebook. What engine?
The dog's just walked in with a squeaky toy.
That's brilliant.
So hang on.
That's excellent. We've got a third guest. Let me
just. Oh no, she's running away. I was going to grab her so she doesn't. Look at that. No. She'll calm down. She'll get bored with it in a second.
Canine intervention.
Captured it.
There we go. Hello. What engine is in the ST? Is it a Ford or a Toka engine?
No, it is a Ford Mountune built EcoBoost engine. Cool. So it is specific to our car, and it's a cracking engine actually. But Mountune do a fantastic job, and I think we get a really good tailored service with it. And they've done great development over the years. I mean, the engine was actually carried over from the old car, so we've got plenty of experience with running it, and it's really a great part of the package.
No, excellent, cool. Just seen a thing on Instagram. Oh, my little backdrop's just fallen down. From your mate Ross, he's actually said, Ollie is the nicest guy on the grid, genuinely selfless and lovely chap, and we all enjoy watching him. I'm sure he will be winning many races soon. So, and that's
checks in the post.
Yeah. Did you ask him to say that before you came on? Or was
No, I have.
Nice one. Another quick question, Harry Oliver. Ollie, what do you think of Thruxton as a track?
I'll be honest, it's not my favourite. It's funny enough, it's the only place I've got a lap record. I set a lap record back in Caterham's about 10 years, well, even longer than that, it might be 13, 14 years ago now. That actually, unbelievably, is still standing. But
wow.
It's but no, it's not my favourite track in a touring car. I obviously had the nasty shunt there a couple of years ago.
Yes.
But I'm actually looking forward to doing it in the new Focus though, because I think to do Thruxton in a strong car that's got a good chassis is a different experience. And I think even the old RS. Although it was a good car, the chassis wasn't the strongest bit of it. We got it to work at certain places, but we did suffer at Thruxton, and so I'm looking forward to trying a new car, because I think it's with the stiffness of the shell and the refinement we've managed with the setup over the winter. I think it's actually going to be pretty sweet around there.
No, excellent. That'd be good to see, because it's a pretty rapid track. So yeah.
It is, but it's funny though, because everyone thinks it's a power track. It's not. It's actually a chassis track.
Yeah, similar to Alton, isn't it? Alton Park in that respect. I suppose that's a chassis track.
Yeah, funny enough, actually, Alton can be a bit of an engine track as well, because the drive up the hill is kind of a both track.
True.
But it's they're not always logical. Silverstone's a bit more of an engine track. Even though you kind of think it might be chassis for carrying the speed, but actually big long straights and that. But no, the Thruxton actually is mostly corners. There's not actually a lot of straights. So if you can carry the mid speed, then you'll have a good weekend.
No, excellent. Another one on Instagram's popped up. Kean Smith. He's a big motivate. He's a big motorbase fan. He's a young lad who follows the page and.
Yep. I've seen Kean knocking around on there, yeah.
Yeah, big motorbase fan. How do you prepare for a race weekend? Is there any sort of ritual or anything that you'd have, or just
I'll say that. In terms of preparation, to be honest, the focus actually goes into getting there, getting the motorhome loaded up and all that. I tried to get up there get to the track on a Thursday. So that we've got a nice day of chill out to have a bit of a leisurely day doing the briefings and doing the track walk on a Friday, just to calm down and kind of break it up from the work week, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So into racing driver mode rather than engineer mode. But no, not anything particularly special. If I'm feeling a bit like I need refreshing on the track, I might have a go on my sim just to refresh my memory, but generally I only need sort of 10-15 minutes on it to get my head back in.
Yeah.
But yeah, not anything special, no.
No, okay, smashing. Just something about, leading up to the weekend, leads on to a question we've got written here. Obviously we've got Knock Hill coming up. Hopes for it? I think what sort of a realistic, like a realistic target for the weekend. Obviously it's Rory's home track. He's gonna have it fairly well nailed, isn't he? I think.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's Rory should have it well now. Frankly, he should be in for a good weekend. But with touring cars, it's sometimes it comes down to your luck. Yeah. So it's never guaranteed. So I mean, I think it's realistic to say, I could be standing on the podium again. But also, it is touring cars. There's a dozen other people that it's realistic that they could be standing on the podium again. So it depends how the weekend pans out. I mean. Alton, had a strong car. It was I was pretty happy. Certainly in the second half of qualifying with the way the balance was, but make a couple of mistakes, get a bit of traffic. You have a bad quality. That's immediately bad news. And that's the same at Knock Hill as well, where it's not the easiest to overtake. And I mean, again, you think, okay, I'll make up a few places in the race and get to race one. The wipers stopped working on the green flag lap at Alton. And so all I could do was really follow the other cars, which was a nightmare. The second race got a hit on the first corner, the first lap, and knocked the toe out. And again, gave the car a load of understeer. Couldn't really make that many places. And then you drove like an idiot trying to make up for it in the third race and ended up drive through. So it's touring cars weekends. It's not about just having the car or even just doing the best job in terms of driving. It's the whole package of making sure that you don't make any mistakes, making sure, and just having the luck even to pull it all together. So it's there's a lot of things that you have to get right to run up the front. No matter how good you are, frankly, and no matter how good the car is, you can still have a bad weekend.
Sure.
And it's so the goal for every weekend from now on is to stand on the podium. Now I've done it. Now I know I can run near the front. I can qualify near the front.
Yeah.
But actually doing it can be more of a challenge than you might think on some occasions.
No, sure. Don't want to rattle through a few things. We've only got 10 minutes to go. Correct, that's flow. Questions just popped up. It's actually one of my friends, actually, a guy called Aaron, and it leads on to a question we've got here. Are the BTCC teammate relationships close? Obviously, you're obviously good friends with Tom Chilton and his family, and you're obviously teammates with him last year. Obviously, are you close with teammates aside from Tom, obviously? And I know Michael Creasher's a big fan of Tom Chilton. He admires him. So how did that sort of work with friends and rivalry and all that kind of thing?
Well, I think, to be honest, I've always gotten well with my teammates, and even the ones that maybe I necessarily didn't expect to. And Tom's a mate. I mean, our parents live next door to each other.
Right. Okay.
In Reigate, and a bit of a small world. But I mean, not only more. I mean, my parents lived there for 35 years. Tom's parents only moved in about sort of 8 or 9 years ago, something like that. Okay. So we've not known each other that long, if you see what I mean, outside of the racing. But no, I had a great year with Tom last year, and I called Tom a mate. And you deal with it on the track, if you see what I mean. Rory, obviously, I was teammates with him back when I was in the Audi and he was in the MG. Yes. Although there was quite a bit of demarcation between the two teams, even before it split off into the trade prize cars and the Mark Bondell and the Honda team, basically the old Eurotech team. But yeah, I mean, we got on quite well back then. Actually, I think we're getting on really well this season as well. And yeah, I mean, it's I try not to fall out with my teammates, if you see what I mean. It's always better to get on with your teammates because you've got to spend a lot of time with them, frankly. And but yeah, you've still got to have that competitive edge. We still both want to win, but the important thing is, particularly with Motorbase, we're a real team. And there's David and Ollie don't like anyone that's not a team player, and the competitiveness has to be directed in a healthy way. We spur each other on, but at the same time we fight together.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. Brilliant, excellent. Can't really let the teammates thing go without a little, just a little sort of short 30-second chat about about the dog, about Nick Hamilton. Obviously, he gets quite a lot of stick needlessly. And obviously, he was teammate with you last year. And firsthand that he's a top driver and he's got a quick lap in him, isn't he?
Yeah, Nick's actually got plenty of talent in him. And he's he's a lovely guy, and he works. I know everyone says it's a cliche, but he works so hard, and the physical pain that he has to endure to actually get in a racing car and drive in at anywhere near racing speed, if you see what I mean, is immense. So to actually be on the grid and up there is an amazing achievement. But yeah. He also, the thing that a lot of people don't appreciate is that actually he's not had that much time in the car. He's not been doing it for very. And he's a bit like me, that he started quite late. He's not got that background of karting and things like that behind him. So he's I think you've just got to see how he develops from race to race to see that actually he's got talent. But yeah, it's early days for him in his career. So just people need to give him a chance, frankly.
Yeah, here. Fully agree. Because some of the stick he gets is ridiculous, and completely unwarranted. Okay, just 5 minutes to go. A few little fun questions to run through. A few of them have popped up. Nigel Hardcastle on Facebook, he's actually asked this question. What's your favourite track you've ever driven?
I'll tell you what, I'd say Spa, but actually I love Mugello as well. I mean, I did... did a race weekend back when I was racing in the AMD, the Audi actually, which was in a mate's team, Race Performance, Ryan Connolly, one of my best mates, in a Ginetta G57, like an LMP car. And we actually, I mean, that was with AJ as well. And we actually won the class and was second overall in a V2V race. And it's such an amazing track, Mugello. I raced there in a G50 Ginetta as well. But it's the most beautiful place. I'm looking forward to seeing the F1 there, actually. I think that'll be an amazing race.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely looking forward to that, because the World Touring cars have been there, and yeah, brilliant. Quick ones pops up. Similar kind of thing. Favourite track in the BTCC this year?
Brands GP. I mean, not just saying that because I've had a couple of good weekends there.
Yeah.
But no, I love Brands GP. It's fast, it's flowing, it's a great track. It's just the best track.
No, yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, from the fan side looking in, it does look brilliant. And one track you'd like to race on?
Imola, I think. Imola's one that I've not been to, and I would love to have a go in a GT car at Imola. I think that would be a pretty special experience.
Yeah.
And the other place I haven't actually raced at, which I've been to for work, to support some of the Bentley GT3 development, because we do the brakes for M Sport on the Bentleys. But it's Portimao. And that always looks like an amazing track, and I've never actually driven it.
Yeah, again, that's F1 again this year, isn't it? So that's going to be
indeed, yeah,
excellent watch.
Yeah, falling off a cliff before turn one. Yeah.
Yeah. What could possibly go wrong with DRS Open? Okay. One car you'd love to race? Got a few minutes to go.
Probably one of those Bentley GT3s. Actually, I mean, I've been around them so much, and I mean, to be honest, I mean, like I said, we're on a few GT3 cars, but I think the Bentley has always struck me as the coolest looking thing, if you see what I mean, and the most interestingly engineered. Even if the Astons and the McLarens are awesome cars as well. But yeah, so I'd love to have a go in one of those.
Nice one, excellent shout. Just three more. Favourite driver ever from any series? Do you have anyone like idol? I mean, you can tell who mine is. That's it, and the out there.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, well, Damon Hill was always my hero growing up, and I've been lucky enough to meet him quite a few times, actually, being motorsport.
Just once. Yeah.
He's a lovely bloke.
Yeah.
I think Jerry Marshall as a touring car driver is my hero, though. Being a big bloke and being fast and sideways.
Best way to be.
Indeed.
Okay. Kean Smith actually asked something very similar. Who's your? He actually said, "Who's your biggest rival?" We said, "Who's the hardest competitor or racer in the BTCC?" In your opinion?
Oh, everyone's a hard competitor in the touring car. It's difficult to pick out one person. But yeah, there's a few people that you might dread being behind you, not necessarily because they're hard racers, but because they're inclined to drive into you. But
we won't know names.
But yeah, no, I think it would be difficult to pick out an individual because there are just so many hard cases, basically.
Fair enough. Okay, we've just got a couple of minutes. So one other series that you'd love to race in? I think we discussed about NASCAR, perhaps, but.
Yeah. I mean, we do. Alcon does a lot. I've been lucky enough to go out there a few times to support for work, and yeah, we do a lot of the top teams in the brakes. A lot of the top teams in NASCAR, like Joe Gibbs, and I think we're still on RFR as well, Roush Fenway, and a few others. And I'd love to have a go in one of those. I mean, I've never driven a car around an oval before, other than the one corner at Rockingham, but. It looks like amazing fun, and it's a great experience as well. The people are similar, but the racing is completely different. Everyone in one big garage, with one bay, rather than everyone having their own separate garages. It's everyone's on top of each other. It's manual jacks. It's hammers and spanners. It's proper racing.
No, brilliant. No, great stuff. Yeah, certainly does look fun. Slightly mental with obviously concrete wall just that far away, but
yeah, a bit terrifying.
All part of the fun.
230 mile an hour, but bumper to bumper, but yeah.
Right, lively, good stuff. Right, I think I've got a little 90-second timer coming up on my Instagram here. So lots of good luck messages coming in for you this weekend, Ollie. Loads of them flying in. So yeah, obviously wishing you all the best for the weekend, and hopefully podiums. Oh, it's all gone a bit. There we are. No, we're fine.
Yeah,
it went weird. No, I said yeah, we've only got a few seconds to go. So yeah, there's lots of good luck messages coming in. So wishing you all the best, and hopefully some podiums and some trophies.
Great.
Nice one.
Thanks, Rich.
Listen, thanks very much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, no problem at all. Cheers.
Nice one. All the best. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye bye.